Good evening and welcome to Content and Cocktails. It's 7 p.m, give or take a couple of minutes, on a Thursday, and that means that it's time for me to come and talk to you and share some information and some know-how around video marketing. So my name's Tom Stanhope, and if we haven't met before, my job in the world is to help business owners who don't necessarily like the idea of being on video use video as a tool to grow their business. But also it's really about helping anybody who has a business who wants to use it as a tool to drive business growth. And that's what this show is all about. So Content and Cocktails is really a pretty light-hearted affair, but we talk about serious stuff. We are here to grow our businesses. Hello Andy, how you doing? We're here to grow our businesses, and thank you, Scott. I am indeed on time. Hi Andy. We want to grow our businesses, and video is a fantastic tool to do that. It's one of the most powerful marketing tools we have available to us in our arsenal at the moment. There's no shortage of places for us to be sharing amazing video content, but you've got to go at it with purpose, with strategy, with a clear vision of what you want to achieve, but also a kind of, a sense of enjoyment. You've got to enjoy the journey, because this is about putting you forward, sharing who you are, what you know, with your ideal customers, with your ideal audience. So Content and Cocktails for me was born out of my group, Grow Your Business with Video. Now I'm multi-streaming this, so this is going live to lots of different places. We're going live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. We're live on all these different platforms. So if you are over on one of those different platforms, welcome. It's lovely to see you. But I have a free group on Facebook. If you're on Facebook and you would like to learn more about video marketing, come and join Grow Your Business with Video with Tom Stanhope. It's a bit of a Ron Seal name. For ages I was trying to work out what to call the group, and I'm a simple man at heart. So it was a simple, I needed the name to be simple. So Content and Cocktails, obviously the content this evening, what we're going to be talking about is really a fairly fundamental question, and that is, why bother with video? So I want to sort of talk through some of the realities of using video marketing in 2022, some of the opportunities maybe. If you're not using it, it's maybe hopefully going to give you some food for thought, give you something to kind of get your teeth into, whet your appetite, and hopefully get you excited about the idea of using video to market your own business. Now, obviously, if you're a long-time viewer or we've been working together, you'll know that you'll know all of this stuff. But sometimes a refresher is good. The content side of it, there we go. That's what we're doing. Cocktail side of it, I'm keeping it simple this evening. And in fact, I'm not going for a very strong one, because after this I'm going on to do an interview with Lisa Johnson. So Lisa is running her challenge at the moment. There's like 11,000 or something crazy, 11,000 people in her challenge, and I'm going in to do an interview as a sort of alumni of her course. So I don't want too many potables to be consumed before I do that. So we're going for a cocktail this evening called the Americano, and it's kind of it's a cocktail with an interesting history. So during the sort of the 1930s, the sort of 20s and 30s, the kind of the cocktail heydays, as it were, when Americans travelled over to Italy. Often a Negroni was offered up, but the Negroni is something of an acquired taste, and it can be quite sort of overwhelmingly bitter for some. If you're not, I love a Negroni, but it's quite a potent drink. It's strong and it's quite bitter. So, hello Karen. So so in Italy, a cocktail called the Americano was sort of dreamt up, which follows a lot of the kind of Negroni rules. But actually, what we're using is aperitivo, which is a sort of herbal, orangey flavoured kind of you'd call it that sort of, but it's an aperitivo. It's that kind of herbally infused drink that Italy and France so love. So in that sort of vermouth family, that kind of Negroni family, but it's a bit sweeter, and then a bit of red vermouth. So we're going to just put some ice in a tumbler, bit of ice in a tumbler, and then we are going to put equal measures of red vermouth and aperitivo. Karen says Negronis are a bit grim. Well, maybe the Americano is for you, Karen. It's a very tasty drink. I like a Negroni, but I would agree, I didn't always like a Negroni. I warmed up to it because my brother-in-law and his partner Deborah do make excellent Negronis, and I was turned round on the idea of Negronis by them. So there we go. A measure of aperitivo and a measure of red vermouth and a slice of orange. Although in this case, because I thought we had orange in the house, we don't. I've got a slice of tangerine, which, you know, it's citrusy. So I'm going to give this a... Oh, I've forgotten my stirrer. Okay, we're going to... I'm giving this a stir off camera because I'm stirring it. I'm not going to show you what I'm stirring it with because it's a bit disgusting. Cheers. Yeah, exactly, close enough. It was an Allen key, a clean Allen key, but an Allen key nonetheless. No, an Allen key, a clean Allen key. The cocktail maker's tool. I never promised this would be a classy affair. If you're tuning in for the first time, you're thinking, what was he doing? It's like, well, this is what you get. You're going to get this level of nonsense. But there's good stuff in here. There's good stuff here. Don't ever forget it. So, actually, I've got to, let me just pull up a particular slide because I want to share it because it's a useful thing to consider. Getting started with video. There we go. So, is it just me? Hello, I don't think I've muted myself. Can you hear me? Hang on. Karen is saying, is it just me or have you muted yourself? I can't hear. Let me just double check. Oof. Nonsense, but there's good stuff in here. There's good stuff here. No, I think I'm loud and clear. No, I'm here. I'm back. Good. Excellent. Oh, thank you. Maybe it was just a glitch your end, Karen. Good. Thank you, Angie. Weird. Yes. Excellent. There we go. The joys of live video. Never forget, live video is not... It sometimes gives every impression of not being your friend. It is completely your friend, but sometimes it'll do things that you think, would a friend do that? But it's just testing you. It's just seeing if you're there for the cause. So, why bother with video? I'm just going to share my screen and yeah, where is it gone? Share screen. Debigulate it. Why bother with video? It's a really fair question. So this is a question that people ask, and obviously, as somebody who runs a video company, I've got to know the answer to this. Because if I can't tell you why you have to bother with video, or why you should bother with video, I'm never going to say have to, because whilst I do believe that every business can benefit from video, there are some people out there, if you can believe it, who really just don't get on with it, and that's okay. So why bother with video? These are some of my top reasons as to why I think you should give it a really long, hard look. If you're, I'm guessing if you're tuning into this podcast, this live, or a member of my group, you're probably, if not actively using video, definitely thinking about using it. So why bother with video? Well, for me, there are 4 key areas that will give you a good sense as to what the kind of the strengths of video are. Now, this is not by any means an exhaustive list. There are lots and lots and lots of reasons to use video, but for me, these are some things to consider. And of them all, actually, high converting. Number 1, high converting is a really important one to consider. Video is an amazing tool at helping you move people from never having heard of you before to being paying customers. You've got to use it correctly, you've got to use it well, but as a tool to take people on that journey, it's second to none. So let's consider a few things around conversion. So this is a little, I think it barely qualifies as a graph. It's got axes, and it's, there are points plotted on it, but that is where the mathematics and the science ends. This is just a very, very crude representation of some sort of key concepts. So we have, as you can just see my cursor, 2 axes. Scalability, is that the y-axis? I think that's the y-axis. So scalability on this axis and conversion on this axis. So first of all, let's just define what we mean by scalability and conversion. Any marketing or sales activity, we want to judge it on a few criteria. One of those criteria is how successful is it at turning somebody into a paying customer? Can it take somebody who isn't a customer and help you turn them into a customer? That conversion. So that's conversion. So when we talk about conversion, it's somebody going from one state, i.e. not having been a customer, to being a customer. And scalability, what we mean by that is obviously how easy is it to take that marketing or sales activity and replicate it, turn it over to, to sort of multiply it so that you get that benefit many times. So let's first of all have a think about some of the other kind of marketing activities that you can do, or sales activities that you can do that kind of will help with, that can be examined on a scalability or a convertibility kind of basis. So over here we have a person face to face. Now, I don't know about you, but I always find that kind of face to face meetings in real life with human to human, those are if you get to that stage and you're sitting down having that conversation, you radically increase the chances of making a sale, because you are making a connection, you're making an honest person to person connection. Now, that sort of act of taking yourself out, if you are a solo business owner, you know that getting out there, getting face-to-face meetings, even Zoom meetings, there's only one of you, so you can only ever do that yourself. It's not something that is kind of easy to scale, but the conversion rate is very high. So 1-to-1, that face-to-face, that delivers a very high conversion level. So this is why it's all the way over here in this quadrant, in that high converting quadrant. But what we'll see here is it's very low scaling. You can't scale it. You cannot take yourself and replicate it. You can't clone yourself. You can't be in more than one place at once. There's only ever one of you. Now, you can build out sales teams and you can do all of that, but those people will never be you. And if you've ever had the process of building out a sales team, you'll know it can be quite a hit and miss affair. Even with all the training in the world, if you get the right person, they're brilliant, but they will probably be on the lookout for high. If they are a good salesperson, they will always be looking for the next challenge, the bigger the bigger commission or whatever. So keeping hold of building a sales team out is complicated and can be a huge headache, but it can be obviously there are successful sales teams all over, but the amount of energy and effort and cost that you have to inject into keeping that sales team effective is always pretty high. So the one-to-one, but we're talking about us as solo business owners, solo entrepreneurs. We can't scale ourselves. There's no way to do that. Face-to-face, one-to-one meetings, that's not scalable. High converting, so one-to-one and face-to-face, that is the very definition of high converting, low scalability. So let's take a look at some of the other tools. So we've got, up here in the very low converting but very high scalability factor is direct mail. People still use it. You get junk mail through your door every single day, or certainly every single week. That you'll get people are not doing this stuff because it doesn't work, and there will be enough of a return on people sending out mail like that at huge volume that there is a return on that activity. So it's very easy to do. You just need to, you can send this over to a mailing house or printing or whatever. You can write some copy, print it out and send it out to tens of thousands of people. But your conversion rate will be fractions of a percent. You're not going to get those same, you're not going to get high conversion results, but you will get in front of lots of different people. Is that all making sense so far? So likewise with email, email marketing delivers good conversion results if done correctly. There's good email marketing, there's bad email marketing, but good email marketing is both higher converting but very easy to scale. You just need to grow your list, and growing your list can be hard. Growing a list with the right people in. And then we have video, and this is where it gets interesting. So video sits obviously as a digital marketing activity. It is very easy to scale. You can just put it out there. You create some content and you get it out there in front of as many people as you can, either through organic techniques or paid techniques or to your list or whatever it is. Scalability, it's up there with any other replicable activity. But the reason why it's a higher converting activity is because it leverages an awful lot of the things that we consider to be unique about the face-to-face. But if you are on camera and you are talking directly and passionately and with purpose to the right people, you get an awful lot of the benefits that come about when you're talking about the high converting, low scalability one-to-one sales and marketing stuff. But you get to have that in a way that is easy to roll out to how many people, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, millions, whatever. You are able, and I say with the right content and with the right strategic approach, and you have to be in front of the camera. This doesn't work if you're hiding behind graphics. You've got to be visible. You've got to take the plunge, and you've got to get in front of the camera. You've got to be speaking, because you don't get the hello Charlotte, hello. You get the you get all the benefits of that sort of face-to-face, that one-to-one, but in a format that is easy to roll out. Does that make sense? Is that sort of, sort of getting the thought processes going at all? Because when I say the sort of, you've got to get your face, and this is why you have to get your face on video. It's why you've got to get yourself on screen, because that is where the benefits of visibility lie. And and it's something that I see a lot of people do with video content, and although not so much now, I will say, it feels like a something that hopefully people are moving past. But there was a lot of kind of, people were doing animated explainers, and I think that's fine for complicated technical processes or large businesses where you've got a very powerful brand. But the reality is, if we're starting out, if we are the ones who are driving the business in a kind of a one-to-one way, if we are a solo entrepreneur, we have to be there. We have to be seen. We have to be our own evangelists. We have to be the people going out there and beating our drum. So let's see what people say. Hello, Charlotte. Yes. Tom Wedding. Good. Yeah. I mean, Charlotte is a marketing expert, and so this is all complete bread and butter. You and I speak the same language. Karen, that's really interesting. Good. Yeah. Hello to you too. Yeah. Now this is a really interesting one, because actually, if we come over here and I go back here, relationships and rapport are one of my top 4 reasons to look at video. So you have provided me with an excellent segue, Charlotte. What a not at all. So the last week has been crazy with kind of all the stuff that I've been dealing with, sort of racing around the country, sort of with some family stuff. But no, I've been editing you, Charlotte, kind of, and it's been a little aside here. So there's a funny thing that happens when you edit, when you're sitting in the edit suite, sort of cutting footage up. You have this wonderful thing where you're spending time with somebody, and it can feel very kind of it's a very intense process editing somebody, because you if you've been sort of editing for a couple of days, it can feel like you've really got to know somebody. And I had a terribly embarrassing thing that happened to me, and it actually illustrates really well the whole relationships and rapport point. I've been editing this footage of this was for an NHS project years ago. We'd been sat in the edit suite editing this footage for days. It was about a week's worth of content we'd been editing up, and there was a sort of a kind of a red carpet event, and they wanted to sort of show off the project, and everybody who'd been involved was invited. Now, some of the shoots I'd not been able to go along to. We'd sent another crew out to go and do interviews and what have you. And I saw somebody across the room, and I went up and said hello, and I was chatting away to this person, and she turned around and said, "Who the hell are you? Who are you?" And all of a sudden I realised that the person I've been talking to, I'd only ever seen them on screen. I'd only ever sort of had their kind of on-screen persona as the interaction. So we'd been editing this footage, and I felt like I'd sort of got to know somebody through the video content. And I went up and I started talking to this person as though I knew them really well, but she didn't have any idea who I was. So it was a bit weird, really, for her. For me, it was just hugely embarrassing, and hugely embarrassing has been a part of my life forever. So I can deal with that. So you sort of it illustrates that point where you kind of see with video, if you are using video in a way to get in front of people, people can build a relationship with you without ever having met you. They feel like they can understand who you are, what you do, how you work, get some sense of your vision and your values and your kind of your way of doing things, your integrity, all this stuff that's kind of really really important when it comes to building rapport. Relationships and rapport can be built using video, and relationships and rapport in the past were things that we had to build one-to-one, face-to-face. That one-to-one sales meeting, that one-to-one phone, that phone call where we actually had a conversation. But now we're able to take video and use it as a way to build relationships, build rapport, without us ever having been in the room. And that's an amazing thing. So I'm going to quickly look at these. So we've got the middle two. So the filling for this sandwich is we have points 2 and 3. So we've talked about the fact that video is a high converting tool. We've talked about the fact that it's good at yeah. So I had a very pleasant lunch with Andy last week. Andy is on is a video academy. A video academician, I should call you, probably shouldn't I? And Andy was fishing on Dartmoor, and we were able to meet up for a very agreeable lunchtime meal and a glass of wine and a chat, and just, it was very pleasant indeed. It's always lovely when you get to meet people who you've only met online, so that was a very nice way to spend last week. But so we've got the relationships and rapport, we've got the conversion side of things, but in the middle we've got these two: emotional, educational, entertaining, a bit enigmatic, and show and tell. So I'll deal with show and tell first. One thing that you will see time and time again is that video is still used by a lot of people just to tell people stuff, but it rather, it's kind of it's used as a way to sort of vomit information over people, and that's not really where it's that's not a that's not the best way to use video. Let's put it that way. You can be showing people. You've got to be showing people as much as telling them, because that's where video really excels. It shows, if you get the right footage, you can show people how things happen. But very often video is used just as a way to deliver information, and that's not using it to its best. But it is at its most powerful. It is at its most powerful when you're showing as well as telling. So just keep that in your mind when you're thinking about your video content. And the final point I want to talk about is this idea that there are 3 E's that video is really good at delivering information around. So it's very good at delivering content that makes people feel something. Think about the kind of the children in need videos, or the comic relief, those kind of fundraising videos where you'll get videos that are made to make people feel stuff. And a good example of this is, so Una, my wife, she works for an organisation called the Mare and Foal Trust, Mare and Foal Sanctuary, and she has been creating some content for broadcast on Mother's Day, and it's all about foals and mares, and it is showing all the newborn foals and with some really lovely, some music underneath it, some words on screen, and it shows and tells really well, but it also delivers a real emotional punch, because it's taking people on a journey. It's connecting that, the music is used to underline and highlight the main points in a way that it will bring a tear to your eye. I will post it when it's out there in the wild. I will link it into the group, because it's a really good example of actually a very doable, very achievable video with kind of graphics and some nice music and some nice footage of mares and foals. I mean, it's baby animals. Everyone loves baby animals. But you can take somebody on an emotional journey, and that's amazing. Educational. It's very good at taking people on a learning journey. And finally, it's entertaining. If you go onto YouTube, people, for example, use YouTube in a couple of primary different ways. One of them is to learn stuff, so people will go to YouTube and treat it as a search engine, and so they will look for answers to problems. And they will also go there to be entertained, and that's broadly it, But video, that's why TV works. It's why we keep going back to the cinema, because video entertains. So it's very good at delivering emotional information. It's very good at teaching, and it's very good at making us smile or laugh or cry or feel something. So it's that entertainment. So for me, those are the kind of main points around why we want to be considering video as a tool to use. So it's foundational stuff this week. We've done a lot of tactical stuff over the last few weeks, where we've talked about specific things we can do to improve our game on YouTube or to understand our audience and all that kind of stuff. So we've had some really specific tactical stuff of late. But I've wanted to just reconnect you with some of the ideas that are at the sort of the foundational level. And one of them is, why bother? Why use video in the first place? So, any questions? This is going to be a shorter one than usual because, as I say, I'm about to go and jump on a live with Lisa, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. I imagine there'll be quite a lot of people. If anybody here is doing Lisa's challenge, you'll know that it has been a crazy group. It has been amazing, and there has been so much value delivered by Lisa, and so many great ideas that you'll have. But I think it's knocking on the door of 11,000 people, or I can't really. It's vast. It's the most enormous group, and when I did my last challenge, there were 250. There were 200. No, there were 200 people in the challenge, and it was mega engaged, and that was just insane. I found it very difficult to deal with all the comments on my own, but 11,000 people. That's mad. That's crazy. So, have a fabulous week. I will see you all next week, same time, Thursday. And yeah, I'm trying to think of a sort of a parting statement to kind of give you something to hold on to around video. If you are not using video, take a good look at your business and think about the places where video might help. So if you are somebody who generates lots of leads that isn't perhaps converting well, or if you're somebody that is generating, you have a really good conversion, think about earlier, if you're really good at converting sales but you don't feel you're getting enough through, then have a look at where video can sort of plug in and perhaps help people on that journey, either putting in more leads at the top of that process, of that journey, or that funnel, whatever you want to call it, or taking people on a much richer journey as they go along that funnel. But take a look at the way you talk to people and the way you sell to people and the way you market to people, and think, where can video add value? Where can video help me build relationships and rapport? Where can video work as a high converting tool? And all those things. So that's it. So what's my call to action this week? I don't really know what my call to action is this week, which is probably a bit rubbish, but we are about to start the 8-week run into the Video Academy launch. So Video Academy will be launching again in a slightly different way. We're rejigging it. It's going to be launching again at the end of May, start of June. So we are going to be going around again and doing it slightly differently this time, but there will still be a launch, but we are going to be focusing on live video again in the launch, and it will make sense. It will make really good sense as to why we're doing that. So it's going to be hopefully a much bigger affair, but you will start hearing me talk about that and all the associated stuff over the next few weeks. So I really haven't got a specific call to action which goes against all of my teachings. But that's my prerogative. Sometimes we get to do that stuff. So I will see you next week, 7 o'clock, Content and Cocktails. Thank you for being here. Take care.